would you make? Because if you're not talking about cuts in those three areas, you're not really talking about much of the budget.
Is that for me? Okay.
I heard tax cuts all across the board.
Okay.
I just want to hear what you're going to cut.
You're entitled to a follow-up question.
Mr. Robinson, what do you think the healthcare legislation that's just been passed will do to our federal deficit? And what do you think that will do also to employers who would potentially be hiring should the economic situation turn around for us? It just seems to me that that's just a huge debacle that's just going to cost everybody money.
I disagree with how much you think it's going to cost the economy. This is my view on the healthcare bill. It's not going to provide as much to the American people as my side of the aisle thinks it's going to provide and how much they're saying it's going to provide. It's not going to be as bad as the economy, or nowhere near as bad as the economy as the people on the other side of the aisle are saying it's going to be. And overall, I think it is going to increase the amount of federal spending that's out there. I don't think that it is a perfect bill, and I think that we need to do a whole lot of changes to it. And in the long run, I don't even think that it's going to be the Democratic Party that's going to make all of the changes that are going to push out universal health care. I think it's going to be the Republican Party, because business knows that we have the highest health care costs in the country, or excuse me, in the world, at $7,500 per person annually in this country, and that makes us uncompetitive around the world. And to be able to drive our business, we need to bring that cost down, and we need to find the right formula to do that, and that's providing health care to everybody.
Okay, Stephen?
Okay, Joe Biden told us before the last election that it was patriotic to pay more taxes, right? Remember that? Okay, the Obama administration went from, okay, I consider Bill Clinton a fiscal guru. I know it was because of the Republican Congress, Newt Gingrich, all that stuff, but he did balance the budget. Now, they immediately went from a $3.1 trillion budget to a $3.83 trillion budget. While hard revenue was rolling back 25%, they were adding 25% to the budget and spending $4 trillion handing the bill to our children. Now, I think we need to strengthen Social Security. We need to have a standardized Medicare reimbursement, 50 state, and we need to roll government back to about $3 trillion. We need, Obama said he was anti-war, now he's spending $200 billion a year over in Afghanistan, while the Marines are chasing the Taliban across popping fields. That's my stance.
Okay, Doug?
I'm the stealth candidate. No, I think I'm hearing what David's saying. I'm just not buying it. Anytime you put the government in charge of anything, has it ever been more efficient or more cost effective? Never. I've never seen it in my lifetime. I agree. You know, our medical expenses in the United States was way too much. And I agree that we need to reform it. But the last thing we should do is put the government in a position to be a competitor in the market. The government should be there as a regulator to make sure that the playing field is even between the competitors. When we have one state that only has a choice of one insurance company, that's a monopoly. Of course the costs are going to go up. If we have lawyers out there raking the money in, we need tort reform. Absolutely. You know, and the president said that's off the table. It's not off the table. We need to put it back on the table. So, you know, these are things we need to look at. We need to have portability for plans. I like the idea of having the states actually have a group together so you can have the people with the pre-existing conditions can get a fair shot at getting insurance. These are all things we can do with healthcare. But the thing we really don't need is the government in there competing against private companies. We just do not need it. It's not going to be more efficient. It's not going to be good for the country, and it's going to be a huge deficit.
David, we're beating up on you.
Hey, I'll take it. First, what's your health care coverage?
My coverage?
Yes.
I pay for TRICARE.
Pay for TRICARE. Run it at one of the cheapest health insurance plans out there that covers most things possible, and it is cheap to you, and it's cheap to the government.
All right, first off, healthcare is not a right. Healthcare is not a right, David.
It's not a government doctor.
Jobs and the economy and the debt were the issues of the day, not healthcare. Okay, still to this day, 58% of Americans want this thing repealed. You're talking about the bill as if it's not completed yet. It's already been done. It's a travesty. We didn't want it, it's unconstitutional, and it's not a right. And for the cost, then we should have addressed the cost. That's not what this bill did. This bill was a government takeover. This bill is unconstitutional. This bill is wrong, and it's not a right. Your right to a doctor's services is not a right afforded to all Americans. It's not enumerated in the Constitution. It can fall to the states. States can address it. That's the proper forum, but it's not a federal issue, and we are out of money. And this is going to tack on, they say, $2.5 trillion over 10 years. Well, we don't have any money. Okay, so this isn't addressing it. He's right. Competition across state lines, tort reform, none of this was touched. This wouldn't have cost the American people anything. And for the cost, the highest cost, well, guess what? We have one of the highest quality healthcare systems in the world, and we don't need to wreck it and burden our children with further debt. And it's unconstitutional.
I think we Republicans are pretty unified on this, David.
And I don't think we're going to change anybody's opinion here.
No, I don't think you are, because
I don't think you are either.
if your opinion is different than what the bill currently says, then you should have fought for it not to be passed in the dead of the night. You should have fought to make sure that the legislators read the bill before they vote on it. You should have fought for them to not twist the arms. You should have fought for the president not to give special rights on Air Force One, to curd favors with the legislators of his choice. You should have fought for all of those things, because that's what frustrates the American people, is that bills are being passed right now that affect their lifestyle, their future, their kids and grandkids who are voiceless in this matter, and they're not being heard. Instead, bills are being passed that are this high on the table, and legislators don't even know what the content of the bill is, because it's all a bunch of legalese. That's un-American, and that needs to be fixed.
Next ticket holder is 343. Okay.
Hi, my name is Roger Kloss. I'm here with my family, and I've got a pragmatic question for, I guess I'd really like to hear from all of you, and it won't take you but a moment to answer the question. That is, you are all aspiring to replace a multi-term incumbent with pretty significant name recognition. I would be interested in knowing, each of you, what have been your contribution receipts for your campaign, and what percentage of those, in dollars, total dollars, and what percentage of those were derived from local individuals?
Who do you want to start with? Stephen.
I'd like to hear from everybody, but it won't take long.
Well, if they so choose.
Let me listen to Rob, and then I'd like to hear it.
Okay, then we'll start with Rob.
The question was total raised and local. When you say local, do you mean Oregon?
That's fine.
The total amount of dollars that our campaign has raised is $380,000, and 98% of that has come from within the state of Oregon.
I haven't been doing too much active fundraising. It's kind of hard to ask the Oregon people when there's 23% employment for a handout, for political purposes. Now, David Wu, on the other hand, he's gotten 248,000 from PACs, out-of-state PACs, unions, and special interest groups. Rob here, he's got 99% of his money comes from Oregon. But I've self-financed, and to get my name out there, I was writing in 2008, I'll be on the ballot for 2010, and hopefully Rob will get it this time, but if he doesn't, I'm backing him up in 2012. That's where we're at.
Is there any other? John.
My campaign's raised over $100,000 in a contested primary. We believe that's extremely well done. We have the biggest volunteer and support base. I'm the most internet savvy. It's going to take millions to defeat David Wu. The political action and the PAC money on our side of the fence has been sidelined because this is a contested primary. It's going to take millions, so what any of us have raised so far to date is more about the primary than it is about the general election. We are very fortunate to have a lot of good candidates for everyone to choose, and I absolutely believe we have the best campaign right here, and the money will come in after you folks pick the candidate for the primary.
Hey, Doug?
Well, I'm a firm believer that it's not the size of your bank account, it's how you use it. and I'll tell you, you know, we're pushing over $10,000, which may seem small to you, but I can tell you, you know, something like what we're doing on the internet is amazing. I challenge you to check out our websites and just compare. For a website like mine, it's about $10,000. You know how much we did it for? About $60. So what do you want for your government? What do you want from your government? You want somebody to go there and take a minimum amount of money and to spend it as efficiently as possible. And that is exactly what I'm doing with my campaign. And so we have a nice ground effort out there. We're getting the name out to everybody. And I think that if we push through this primary, the money is going to flood in. And we won't need to worry about that. We're going to continue doing it old school. We're going to go to door through the rest of, you know, general election. We got people like Glenn here that are out there every single day and pushing forward. And we're going to continue doing that. And we're also, if money does flow in, then we're going to go with the standard advertising campaign. But you know what? This year is not politics as normal. And I think this is a toss-up for everybody.
On our reporting that we just did, I think we reported about $30,000, and I'm not sure how much was from local. I didn't didn't pay attention to the math on that. I've been busy out there actually doing work and trying to get by with and get votes for what I've got. And Rob, I don't need to go and advocate your positions or your beliefs to the party. I was busy advocating mine, so I'll let you take that.
Okay. You're entitled to a follow-up question. What would you like to ask?
Thank you. Actually, my first question was kind of a narrow question to a broader question, which is, why do you believe that you are the candidate who is in the best position to unseat the incumbent?
And who would you like to direct that to first?
I'm sure at least all the Republicans are going to take this one. So it doesn't really matter.
I'll actually sit this one out.
John, go ahead, please.
Yeah. I believe my experience and my education is the most relevant. Economics, banking, housing, and running a large corporation. I also believe I'm the most internet savvy and have the biggest following. I'm part of the freedom movement here. I'm one of the leaders in the freedom organizations in Oregon. And you know, quite frankly, I think that I can energize the base. You know, there's a division in our party. There's been a lot of business as usual. Some of the other candidates represent that. And quite frankly, for decades, they've kept us as the party in the minority. I believe that the Reagan message will transcend that. I can reach out to independents as well with a message that I think gives the people a choice rather than Democrat light that's always consistently lost.
Stephen?
I got to thank Mr. Robinson for showing up today, because this man was an enlisted Marine, and he was chosen to go to the Air Force or the Naval Academy. They never let enlisted people ahead. For him to be going to the Naval Academy like that, after being an enlisted man like that, my hat is off to you, sir. Thank you for showing up. I'm one of the guys that's starting a fire. You know, the Patriots starting a fire over and starting a fire over here. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I'm just going to go on and I'm going to attack David Wu at every turn. I know him better than he knows himself. I know what his moves are, and I know he plays a lousy game of chess, and so does Ron Wyden too. But if you watch them, he does everything for collateral damage control, and he votes 100% of the time with liberal takeover of this country, and he's a socialist. He's done nothing, and We have to, if we're going to have our children move on to a better and brighter future, David Wu is not part of that future. And we have to get that across to the public.
Hey, Doug?
Sure. But what I'm not Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm not one-dimensional. I'm multi-dimensional. With my master's degree, I understand economics. I understand business. I witnessed business as I was growing up, but that's not all I know about. I also spent 20 years going around the world looking at other countries. Got my at that time at the War College, which gives me a broad knowledge of international relations. I think I'm going to challenge John on my internet savvy, because check me out on the internet. Let's see who's the most savvy out there. So, I think I'm the candidate with the most broad knowledge, and I bring my experience from my 20-year career as a Navy commander to you to put forward and represent you well. I've done it internationally for 20 years. I think I could do it here within the country for you.
The question was, what makes
us the best candidate? Several things. First of all, I think I'm the only person on the stage who can respectfully beat David Wu. Not only is it because you have to raise money to beat a six-term incumbent, but you also have to galvanize the base. And John said that the base is divided. My base is not divided. I have nearly 1,000 contributors, not only in donations, but also in volunteers. People who are devoting their time, their resources, their energy to help me win this primary. Also, my education is in building careers for people. I've lived overseas, I've lived in other states, I've also done business in every major market in this country. And I know why Portland and Oregon specifically are suffering. And yet I've been able to create more than 500 jobs around the country. I'm ready to take that experience, something I might add that David Wu has never done before. I'm ready to take that experience and help Oregon be benefited from it, because it's the least I can do as an Oregonian to serve my state.
Mr. Robinson, like to say why you like to
He decided to bow out unless you wanted to.
I didn't. I'm not bowing out.
Okay, go for it.
I
apologize for that comment.
I said I don't. Your comments seem to be.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are curious as to why you think we need to replace David Wu.
I, like probably everybody here, believes that and feels that David Wu hasn't done the greatest job representing us. As I've traveled around the district, I have heard from people within my own party who feel that David Wu is not engaged here in the district. He's not responsive to people's concerns, and he lacks the horsepower back in Washington, D.C., and lacks the respect back in D.C. to make positive impacts for Oregon. That's something I'm going to change. I'm going to be engaged with the district. I'm going to be engaged with all the people in the district, even those on the other side of the aisle from me, because I will be representing them. I'll be responsive to their needs, and I'm going to take that stuff back to Washington, D.C., and we'll be able to move legislation. I've got a history of getting things done. I've moved quickly from job to job in the military and in the civilian side, and I moved that quickly because I got the job done, and I was being moved to another job to get it done, and this is the job that I am going to get done.
Next ticket number is 359. Okay, I'm going to get a microphone down.
Good evening. My name is Michael Talvisti. I'm very concerned about our energy dependence on Middle East oil and other foreign countries holding us over the barrel, you might say. What would the candidates, Rob, what would you do to go and create more energy independence for us in the United States, knowing that I've got geology experience and know that there's lots of resources here?
In other words, I can't fake my answer in front of you? Great question, Michael, I appreciate it. I find it humorous that sometimes the Republican Party is called by the Democrats the party of no. But when it comes to energy independence, when it comes to energy development, I find the Democrats to be the party of no. They don't want nuclear. They don't want to drill. They don't want to do so many things. They don't want natural gas. I am a believer that, especially in this part of the world, we have so many natural resources at our disposal that we're simply not tapping. Now, we could talk about wave, we could talk about solar, we could talk about wind, we could talk about LNG, we can talk about geothermal. All of those things, I think, ought to be on the table, because I have enough confidence in the American people, especially the people in this part of the world, this part of the country, to use technology and innovation to make us energy independent. And so I think it's a national security issue when one party says, no, we can only explore certain forms of energy, the other ones are out of bounds. That to me is anti-American, and it's not looking after the future of our kids, not only their national security, but also their economic future.
Didn't even have an answer, I just want to be it.
First off, oil and nuclear and gas. I mean, a country that can't provide for its energy needs can't long survive, prosper, and grow. That is just a simple, that's the math. We have China and Brazil drilling 90 miles off of Florida. We have oil reserves off the coast of Oregon. We have abundant natural resources, and quite frankly, we are short jobs. We need to put Americans to work, pursuing all forms of energy, building nuclear power plants, that's clean energy, drilling, that's blue-collar jobs, high-tech jobs, that is jobs across the board. And they're jobs that will last and that keep us cutting edge and provide for a growing, prosperous country. And I absolutely believe that Americans can do that in an environmentally friendly way, if anybody can. We are technologically superior, and we need to remain that way.
You stole my answer. No, you know, an abundance of energy is what we have in this country. We need to tap into it, bar none. That's how we're going to get off the foreign supplies. And I would not rule out a tariff either. I know you don't like that, John, but I would not rule it out over time. But first you have to have that abundance of energy so you don't have detrimental effects on the economy. I think it's very important. I think we ought to have a 10-year plan to get us off the foreign oil, because it really is a national security issue. We need to do that. It's not an environmental issue for me. It's a national security issue. Now, he touched on environmental a little bit. You know, the Republican Party has a bad name for not being good on the environment, and I absolutely disagree with that. I think we are the party of conservation. We're the ones that created the national parks. We're the ones that take care of things. We're the Boy Scouts out there that leave things better than, you know, how we found it. So I think we need to move forward and really think about how we're going to take care of the environment, as well as get all this energy out there. And we need to do it without destroying the economy with something like cap and trade. So I'm totally against it.
This will go back to address that gentleman's concern about getting a job in Oregon. We can do biomass harvesting in the forest. There's just tons of beetle-ridden trees that can be harvested for biomass harvesting, used to be burned and all that stuff. There's lithium-ion battery technology. Korea, France, all the rest of the world is coming. They're producing these factories that do lithium-ion batteries for cars, and we're coming up to a juncture where, with the new Stanford battery, the nanotechnology, we're looking at batteries that will go 3 to 5, 10 times longer than a normal lithium-ion battery. There's fuel-saving technology for aircraft. There's the new Boeing fuel savings technology. There's opening up and water drilling. You know, there's diesel technology. There's fuel cell technology, CNG, biodiesel. The biodiesel, 8.75 gallons for an acre's worth of land when you feed 70 people per year, or 7 people per year, or drive a diesel for 70 miles. It takes a greater carbon footprint of diesel to produce. The ethanol, all the fascist energy programs that the Democrats have done with all this money that was spent was designed to split the electoral college down the line in the middle part of the country. Also, it's subsidized burning of food stocks. Our dairies are costing more money to feed their cattle. Our seniors are seeing it at the grocery store. But there's a lot we can do in Oregon.
Okay. Any other candidates want to comment? Dave?
Sure, I'd like to jump in here. to have a comprehensive energy policy in this country, and that policy does move us away from foreign carbon energy sources. I do know that this is a huge national security threat for us, and it's a huge national security concern that we need to address now, and we need to move away from that. We do have the resources in this country to provide for our own energy needs. That includes the, I believe it's 48 million acres of license that oil companies already have under lease and have the license to drill that they're not doing right now. Why they need to expand and get more, it's an economic issue because it's cheaper for them to buy it overseas and ship it in here than it is to produce here in the United States and sell to ourselves. So I think we should do some development of those assets that we already have, and then make sure that those assets don't get sold overseas. They go for Oregonian and for American energy needs.
Would you like a follow-up question?
Again, I don't believe in the gizmo magic bullet of lithium ions and such. I'm really looking for an answer like deregulation and allowing the oil companies to go and actually use the land that they have instead of protecting snails and other small mammals. Because there's lots of oil out there, there's lots of coal, there's lots of oil shale, all on our own land. Not coming up with gizmos that will go and save us energy, but we're still depending on it.
Okay. No question?
Actually,
And the question actually is?
I'm asking for, what would be to go and...
The question is a clarification on what your energy policies would be and what you would advocate. Who do you want to? Starting with Doug.
Well, I think you answered the question for me, and I think you answered it very well. And that's starting with the regulations. I think the reason the oil companies aren't doing it is because of the regulations that we're putting them under. I think that shale oil, especially, if I'm not mistaken, is a lot more expensive than normal oil drilling. So, oil has to get up to a certain price before that's going to become economically feasible. Any energy supply that you have, though, that you have to subsidize is not a good energy supply because it's just not economically feasible over time. It has to make money. If it doesn't make money, it's not going to make sense. And right now, the oil companies have incentive, as you say, to buy foreign oil. And so we have to take that incentive away, and we can do that with doing some things. Anwar is some of that oil that's real easy to get, real cheap to get. We need to get it. And that shale oil, eventually we'll get it, but right now it's just not cost effective. And if we can fix that with the deregulation, then that's what we need to do.
Stephen?
One of the reasons why GM went out of business is because they were putting out obsolete products. Oil shale is very highly destructive. If you look at the blue oil up in Canada, the sand shale and all that stuff, there's one way to pull it out of the ground, and that's with a nuclear power plant sitting right here, and electrodes going in the ground to heat the land in order to get it to liquefy and bring it to the surface. The other way is to harvest it, to go in with these massive machines and destroy the environment. Oil shale might be great for Canada when they're utterly destroying thousands or hundreds of square miles of country. I don't want to see Oregon or Colorado and the beautiful pristine mountains of Colorado destroyed by oil shale harvesting. But as far as lithium-ion battery, we're at a point now where you can plug your car and you'll be able to plug your car in, have a little fuel cell next to the house that takes 14% of liquefied natural gas to heat your entire house, charge your car, go back and forth to work, and you don't even have to buy oil. So this technology, there will be a silver bullet, and it's coming down the pike.
Really?
Okay. Rob?
I have 3 sons, as I mentioned at the beginning of this forum, and they're all Boy Scouts. One's an Eagle Scout, one's soon to be an Eagle Scout, and the other one's right on their heels. I've spent probably the last 16 years of my life in the Boy Scouts program as an adult leader. We go out there all the time. I've slept in sleeping bags so many nights. Well, actually, I don't sleep in them. I just spend the night in them. But I am all about conservation and preserving this wonderful place we call Oregon. One of the things, though, that really troubles me, we have a terrific energy source right here called geothermal. And geothermal is not being accessed. And yet we have, we're in the volcanic district here. We have 11 volcanoes up and down the range. And yet, because of a strong environmental movement, which has not been mentioned yet, because of that strong lobby, we're not allowed to go into the earth, drill down, gather the steam, bring it up, heat homes and schools and businesses, and send it back down to the earth. Nothing could be more clean, more renewable, more affordable than geothermal. We have to fight in Congress to make sure special interests don't tell us how to use our land right here in Oregon.
We need to deregulate, you're correct, and fast track on all the programs. Geothermal, absolutely, Rob. We can do it with oil drilling as well. You know, Americans are top-notch at pulling oil out of the ground compared to a lot of other countries out there. I also believe that we could fast-track the nuclear program. First off, I was opposed to all the stimulus money, but if they're going to use it, I can't believe we didn't build nuclear power plants with it. I can't believe it. We could build them instead of the 8-year plan. I know they can be done, smaller ones in 4 years. A lot of the European nations are 70 to 80% of their power is coming from that. I don't think we have a problem with oil drilling of any kind, but I would actually look to nuclear as the way of the future. I think that's where we have an unlimited supply of energy, and I would continue to focus on that. But I think that we could pursue the other ones and fast track it and deregulate instead of just giving lip service to it, like this current administration is doing. Yeah.
I don't believe that regulation is bad. Regulation gives us clean air, gives us clean water, gives you a safe workplace to work in, and make sure that when oil does spill on the ground that it is cleaned up, and it keeps companies, makes them have safety precautions that keep that oil from being spilled and keeps you safe. So regulation is not a bad thing. With that said, I do believe that we should invest in renewable energy sources, and that's where we should be looking to provide or put most of our resources in the future, because I think I'm different than everybody else up here, that I believe that release of primordial carbon in the form of oil and coal into our atmosphere is a global threat.
Okay. Next question is coming from ticket number 333.
This question is directed towards Mr. Cornilles. Where do you stand on a woman's right to choose?
I have received the endorsement of the Oregon Right to Life. I am personally one who values life, and I've demonstrated that throughout my life. My wife and I, before one of our sons was born, she discovered, or the doctors I should say, discovered something that caused them great concern in the sonogram. So they brought us in and they said, these are your choices. For us, we'd already made the choice. The choice was we want to have a child. And so we've been grateful ever since for that. And I also would say that I not only value life at the beginning, but I also value life at the end. And that's why I think we need to do much more to honor our seniors, to make sure that they have comfort in their age. We've made promises to them as a country. Certainly our government has as well. And to devalue life by making the taking of life easy, to making it legal, to me is something that our country will be regretting for many generations.
Doug.
Yeah, I'm pro-life.
John?
I can assure you, you would not have the endorsement of the Oregon Right to Life unless you were pro-life. And I am the only candidate on the stage who has indicated he's pro-life in that he got the endorsement of the Oregon Right to Life. So it's very clear where I stand. If you have any questions, I'd encourage you to call Oregon Right to Life.
John?
I'm a
afraid to jump into this. I'm a constitutionalist. I believe Roe versus Wade was a bad decision. Should have been left up to the states and the people respectively. That said, we're now caught in a quagmire that never gets solved. I personally am pro-life. I believe life starts at conception. I think that I guess we'll end on that.
David?
I support a woman's right to choose, and if elected, or when I'm elected, I will continue to support Roe v. Wade, which is right about where 60% of the country is. I think this argument, this discussion, it may not be 60% of this room, but 60% of the country. I will continue. I think this discussion continues to distract from a lot of the other things, but I think it's important to know where candidates stand. That is, I will continue, or I will vote against legislation that tries to impinge or reduce the rights that were granted or were found in Roe v. Wade. And Rob, you did not answer the question. We need an unequivocal answer from you. I don't think we need to go to Oregon Right to Life to find your answer.
Stephen, you have the floor right now.
Real quick, I tried to get the Oregon Right to Life vote. He got it. That says it all right there. Okay. I live in a household. My wife is pro-choice. She's a